Hello and welcome to the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 49. On this show, we strive to showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. Bandwidth for this episode is brought to you by Action Target. Today I have with me two guests. We have TJ, who's always familiar to the show, but this week we also have Nick from the Practically Tactical podcast.
Hey Ryan, how you doing? Pretty good. How you doing this week?
Doing
Finally,
good?
a show that we can talk about Glocks for an hour. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah. Nick is like practically the most special guy I know in all sense of the word. So I appreciate him coming on the show. It's ironic that we actually don't have any Glock stuff in the show notes, so it's going to be torture.
I think the 42 is the first new thing they've come out in forever, so it's not too much new we can talk about.
I know, but we can sit around and talk about base plates for an hour if it makes Nick happy.
There we go. There we go. That'll work.
So, what did you guys practically do in guns this week?
I just took a new shooter to the range today. So that was a little fun, and yeah, that was about it. Just took a new shooter today, and she loved it, and is already inquiring about CCW, so I feel like my job is done.
That's pretty awesome.
What did you start her off with?
Well, since I don't have any 22, can't find any, that seems dried up. We started with the Glock, my Glock 34, and she shot that, and she liked that, then we went and shot the AR and the AK.
Nice.
So she actually liked the rifles better, but still wants to get a CCW, which is good.
It's good to hear. Yeah, I haven't done a few things since the last time I've been on. I actually bought some of the what do you call it, those things behind you, Nick. I'm sorry, easy to see targets. That's what it is. And I went to bring them out to my father-in-law's to help him sight in his rifle, and left them on the kitchen counter. So that didn't do any good.
And I'm hoping you use the code Practically Tactical for 15% off your order, right?
Actually, I needed them like yesterday, and by that I mean I needed them pretty soon, so I just ordered them from Amazon, ordered the slightly more expensive pack that you get with less in it, just because I needed it tomorrow, so I did not.
Well, next time use the code Practically Tactical.
Yeah, we'll do.
I got a shameless plug that all I can.
Sweet. I actually made it out to the range myself. I did some switching around with scopes. I now own 3 Vortex scopes. I think that makes me an official fanboy of Vortex. But actually, I had to re-zero them all because I was swapping them around. So that was fun. But I also shot did some subsonic blackout test loads. And I wanted to say on the air that listener Arturo, he sent me that Deadwood slick sleeve that you shove inside your buffer tube, and it kind of sucks up some of that spring noise, that twang from your buffer spring. Shooting subsonic with my can on there, I could totally tell the difference. It was like I was shooting a completely different rifle platform. That the reverberation of that spring was non-existent. It wasn't present in my ears after the shot. It made the shot much more quieter from the shooter's perspective. So that was awesome. Now that I've tested it with subsonic loads, and I could really see the contrast and the difference, I'm actually gonna probably get a couple more and put it in all my rifles, because after shooting it and then switching to something that was like a rifle length buffer spring system, I could obviously tell the difference between that spring, the residual vibrations going off right next to my ear, and it started to kind of annoy me a little bit. But yeah,
that's pretty cool. What are those MSRP?
Like really cheap.
You just said it's just a little plastic sleeve anyway, so it's probably not a whole.
It's a plastic sleeve that's got these little tabs that go inwards, so that way you have something positive to just kind of slide it all the way to the end of the buffer tube. And it's kind of slit at the bottom to clear your buffer tube catch pin.
Mm-hmm.
They're really affordable, and I think they make a world of a difference. So it's deadwoodtactical.com, and I'll bring up the MSRP here in just a couple seconds. They're made in the USA, obviously. So it's $25, which seems like a big deal for something that's just like a little plastic sleeve that you could probably make yourself. I'm not sure what the material is, but all I know is it works. So regardless of how simplistic and how minimal the material seems, like the results speak for themselves. So I thought that was really cool. So I think he wanted me to test it out with some subsonics and let him know how it worked out. It worked really good, buddy. Try it out. So yeah, that's what I did in guns this week. Oh, and I tried out that RCBS Chargemaster. Oh man, that is beautiful. That is God's gift to reloaders everywhere.
That's the scale, right?
It's a scale and a dispenser mixed or combined together. Oh man, you just set the pan on there, you hit the numbers. So I'm loading 308 with Varget, so 42.3 or 42.5, and then it fills the pan in just a matter of like 40 to 60 seconds. You dump it in your case, you finish all your bullet seating and whatnot, and then by the time you're done and you've already set that pan down, it's automatically refilled that pan. And as far as the over and under charges, it does a really good job of keeping track of that. Lets you know when you're under, and you can trickle a little bit more in there. If it goes over, you just dump a little bit out or redo it. But it seems to be really nice. I mean, I love it. Like I used to hate. What's that?
This is for precision rounds in place of a powder trickler, right?
Yeah, and
okay.
So I wouldn't really need it for like a pistol, because I still like to use the pistol expanding die that actuates the hopper. But for like AR-15, 308, any rifle rounds that have a grain of more than 20 grains of powder, it's awesome.
Cool.
Anyway, we're always looking for new guests to come on the show, and so if you want to do that, you got to email me, cross@firearmsradio.tv, to join the podcast. We record on Tuesdays. We're pretty flexible on time, starting 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to 9 Central Standard Time. We kind of just coordinate with all the guests that week and what's the better time. Sometimes we do Wednesdays too, if that works out for everybody. The more important thing is to get listeners to come on the show and interact with each other and us, because we all like guns and gear. So part of the thing I'm trying to give you guys a carrot to want to come on the show is new product giveaways, and you win by joining the show. First come, first serve. So Justin joined us last week, and he got a little tracker sticker, and so I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do for the next giveaway. I think it might be maybe like a red dot. I'll let you guys all announce that on the next podcast next week, so that'll be episode 50. So it'll be a 50 cal, right? No, just kidding. So let's get right into the new product spotlights. First one right off the bat is something that just came out this week that a lot of people are actually excited for. Ruger's just been batting them this summer as far as new products. It seems like every week. And the last couple were kind of people weren't excited for. Everyone wants the SR45 compact, but this is actually something that a lot of people have a kind of a warm reception to, and that's the Ruger LCR that's in 9mm. So I think TJ brought this to my attention. Why don't you talk about it first?
Yeah, I've actually I think it's pretty cool when companies try to throw some kind of little curveball, but ones that actually make sense, and these do to me make sense. It's first off a few specs. It's 17.2 ounces, which I'm pretty sure is the same as their 38 special versions. It takes a 5-round moon clip, so it's not the clipless ones like some of the older Smith & Wessons, but it is plus P rated, which I think is something to be said, because some of the other lesser quality ones that are in the 9mm aren't. But the MSRP is a little bit higher than the 38 special, but not too much. The 38 special is $539 MSRP, and this one's $599, so maybe $60, maybe $40 to $50 on street price added. So that's not too much more for something that I think is pretty cool. I'm a 9mm shooter, so I think I would like one of these. And then one thing I've noticed before, if you're familiar with Ballistics by the Inch, it's a website where they take, I think, one of the Rossi or one of those style crack barrel single shot rifles, and they just put them in all these pistol calibers, and they chop an inch off the barrel and chrono them just to see what the differences are. If you look at a similar weight 9mm versus 38 special, you actually get some better velocities in the 9mm out of some of like the 2-inch barrel. So I think that's pretty impressive there.
I'd say it's finally Ruger's done striking out on new products. I think Ryan had it right there. The past couple ones have been meh at best. No, I think it's a smart move on them. I would say the very concealable revolver market is definitely pretty hot, I would say. It's something that even me being a semi-auto guy, I'm not throwing up when I look at the picture, so that's always a plus. But I think it's a good market to be in. It's a good caliber. And again, too, what you talked about there with barrel lengths and ballistics is you actually get a little more on 9mm. I think that's a plus. Again, not that 38 specials are that hard cove around, but 9mm is just one of those overall. It's good at kind of everything, and I don't know. I'd say it's a win for Ruger. It's a win for people that are into concealed carrying a firearm like this, and it's a win for Ruger of finally stopping kind of a skid on releasing meh products.
Yeah,
So,
I think a lot of even though this is a variant of their other products, I think it happens to be a better variant than some of the other ones they just released with a slightly shorter or slightly longer barrel or a different color stock or something like that and calling it a new product. This kind of is more of a new product when you look at those other ones.
yeah, no, I mean, and it's a good place in the market. They should have done this sooner. That's the only thing I think you could knock them on is, hey, this should have been out sooner. But good on Ruger. I think this is going to be a big win for them.
You say it's the only thing you can knock them on, but I'm personally going to knock them for not making it a 6th round, but that's just me. I think somebody needs to find a way to cram another 6th round into the lightweight small revolvers like Colt did back in the day.
Yeah, I just, for something like this is perfect for summer carry, so announcing it like at the end of summer is kind of a miss, but ammo availability and being able to choose some defensive 9mm versus trying to find something in 38 special is going to be a huge benefit too. I mean, you've got just a whole world opening up to you as far as whether you want to shoot a Hornady, critical duty, Hydroshocks. The possibilities are endless. Versus trying to find something that performs well in 38 special, it's usually not on the shelf as much, or in your lesser stocked stores.
Plus, mine tends to be a little cheaper too, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've never bought 38 special, so I wouldn't know.
And something I will throw out too, a really great YouTube channel is called Shooting the Bull 410, just like it sounds. He does a lot of ballistics gel test, but most importantly in small barreled handguns. So like Glock, he does 380s and 9mm. He mainly focuses on those. So like Glock 42 with a 3.3-inch barrel, and like what's the Taurus small one, like a 3. With a 3.2 or 3.16. But what he does is he focuses ammo on these short barrels, because there is a big difference between a 3-inch barrel and a 4-inch barrel when it comes to defensive ammo, because if it's not enough speed, that hollow point is just not going to expand or not expand enough, and basically it's a full metal jacket. So obviously we carry hollow points to act as hollow points. So he has a fantastic channel of testing out ammo. 10 feet with small barrels. So I hopefully he'll get this firearm. Would be interesting, but this should give you a good data point of what ammo will work great in a what's the barrel size on this? 8.75 inches. Really small, but that might give you an idea of ammo, because again, not all of them necessarily perform on those small barrels.
Right, and that's one thing, not to go off on too much of a tangent about shooting the bull, but one thing I was happy to see about him doing his ballistic test, I've seen plenty of them where they're using like a burst of thunder with like a 3.5, over a 3.5 inch barrel, and you got to think most people that are shooting a 380 aren't going to be shooting the thunder, they're going to be using the Kel-Tecs and the LCPs and smaller ones like that, so I was glad to see that.
I've never actually pulled the trigger on one of these. How's the trigger on this LCR?
I've
Anyone know?
never shot one, but I've heard they're pretty awesome.
I've heard they're heavier, obviously being a dull ash pull, but they're pretty darn smooth.
Masada Ayub says they're pretty sweet, so I'm going to say they're pretty sweet.
Sweet.
Dude,
yeah,
sweet.
Dude, what does mine say? Sweet. So it does come with the 3 moon clips, which is, and I'm sure you'll be able to buy extras either through Ruger or a alternate third party.
Yeah, that's
another. Those do wear over time, don't they?
It's at like 50,000 rounds or something crazy like that.
Well, I think you got more problems to worry about with your equipment if you shot that many.
Probably. One thing to note with these moon clips, though, is they are like one solid unit, so it's a little harder to carry spare ammunition, especially for a smaller revolver like this. When a lot of people carry those speed strips or something like that whenever they have their 38s, but with these they have to all be on the clip, or else the gun won't work right. So that's one thing to consider. You got these bulky clips that might bend and cause malfunction. So.
Yeah. One thing that I've read from the comments that some guys are really happy about is carrying this around for basically snakes, being able to get a 9mm shot shell to just carry around. Previously they were doing like using 22, and there's not a lot of bird shot in those 22 shot shells, or snake shot or rat shot, whatever you want to call them. So this actually lets you carry a much better shot shell that performs in a similar platform. So if you don't like snakes, this would be a good gun to get with that added benefit. So let's move on to the next product, which coincidentally is another Ruger. This is the American Ranch Rifle. So if you're not familiar with the American, it's kind of Ruger's economy line of rifles. It comes in at a really good price point, kind of meant to match like the Savage Axis and some of the lower cost Remingtons. So basically they've released these ranch versions that are a shorter barrel and chambered in 5.56 and 300 blackout, and they do have a threaded barrel. So that's kind of the big benefit, is you've got a nice short bolt-action rifle, 300 blackout, throw a suppressor on there. It'd make a good like hog gun or close-range varmint gun. What do you guys think?
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, well, obviously, big fan of 300 blackout. 16-inch barrel, 6 pounds. You know, it's got, looks like it got the pick rail built in. Is it anything that's going to blow the market away? Probably not. But I think it's a good offering. Obviously, as we were talking about before air, suppressors, that's a big growing market, I think. Obviously, there's how many companies now are making suppressors? So I think it's a good offering to have. Obviously, 300 blackout smart, 5.56. Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of guys out there. I'd probably like to see another offering in calibers. I guess for me, it's like what was their thinking of, like the intended use? Obviously, they call it a rifle, a ranch rifle, excuse me. But is this something that someone's going to carry around in the back of their truck? I don't know necessarily.
Yeah, it's kind of meant as like a truck gun. You know, you're definitely not going to be winning any competitions with it or getting extreme groups out of it, but it's just kind of meant for a lower cost option that kind of meets a certain standard of, you know, I don't know if they're guaranteed sub MOA, but they should definitely perform MOA at least if the shooter's doing their job right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suggested retail on all of them, all the different variants is $489. And also another thing is they released the regular Americans in left-handed configuration, which left-handers are rejoicing. And I did read that I think they're doing these ranch rifles in left-hand configuration as well. So that's kind of a big deal too. Is some companies will do a bolt-action rifle, but they won't really cater to the lefties out there, just demographics alone.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool feature. To have them left-handed, because I know a lot of people, yeah, especially with a bolt, you got to run it kind of backwards with it. But one thing I would like to see is they come out with this same rifle with the 16-inch barrel with like Nick said, some different caliber offerings like the 308. It's such a popular round for a bolt action, so it seems like they would come out with that, but they haven't yet. We'll say, but because that's kind of one of my things is. I almost don't understand. I know I've talked to Ryan about it before, just personally. I almost don't understand the point of the 223 5.56 bolt-action rifle. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me, and I'm not sure where it fits into need. It's
cheap, and there's kind of some nice, beautiful simplicity. Is that it's not like a clunky AR. It'll fit. It's more of the fit of it than really the function. I mean, yeah, it shoots the same caliber. You get a little bit more accuracy out of it, the bolt action platform, than semi-auto if you were to get like a cheap Walmart AR. But just the fact that I don't know, you're like a little bit more accurate when you're shooting slower, and you've got a finite amount of rounds. It's a great varmint cartridge for coyotes and bobcats and smaller varmints as well. I mean, I wanted one. I was saving on getting a bolt action and 223, but I ended up a 22 fell on my lap, which is the same thing, but much faster. So I decided to go with that. But
okay. I guess just in my location, I guess it doesn't hold a lot of value because I guess kind of like you mentioned, prairie dogs and all that kind of smaller varmints. We don't have that around here, so I guess if I'm going to have a limited capacity, I'm going to have something that hits a little harder. So the 308 makes more sense for me because anything that I would shoot with a bolt-action rifle would either be a squirrel or a white-tailed deer, and I'm not doing either one of those with a 223. So.
God save the squirrels you shoot with a 308. That's all I gotta say.
No, that's why I'd get a 22.
I mean, I guess for me, the only thing that I see as standing out is if I was going to have a truck gun and I was on, a farm, I would want some sort of iron sights on it.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I think one of the best ideas for a truck gun is like a Mosin Nagant with a M43 style with the short barrel and the heavy duty iron sights. So that would be something I would like to see on there too.
Yeah. Even though it's a synthetic stock, it is kind of a bright desert sand color. It does have a integral bedding block system that locks the receiver and free floats the barrel for outstanding accuracy. Depending on the construction of that polymer, hopefully when you mount a bipod on that forward swivel, that tension from loading the bipod doesn't cause the stock to bend and touch the barrel, because that eliminates the whole point of free floating it. But I'm sure this might be a good platform once other stock manufacturers start patterning stocks to fit the ranch rifle. This might be a really nice budget action to start off of, but still hard to beat the Remington 700 for that purpose.
Yeah. One thing I would actually like to see, they've incorporated into their 22, their Rimfire American line, is that interchangeable stock, because I think this would make a great like a youth gun kind of. It's a lighter shooting round than say the 308, like I was talking earlier. So if you're going to introduce somebody to a bolt action at a young age, give them a 223, and it won't be so heavy hitting on them. So they should incorporate some of that. I don't know exactly what they call it, like just an insert, I guess, that changes the length of pull in their 22 versions.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
No, one thing I did notice here, which is kind of interesting, is the 5.56 version has a 1 in 8 twist. 300 Blackout has 1 in 7. 1 and 7 for 300 blackout. I guess I haven't necessarily seen as too common. I've only mainly seen 1 and 8s. I don't know. I think I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of backwards.
Is it a faster twist rates for heavier subsonic loads?
I'm not sure, but I've only ever seen 1 and 8s on 300 blackout. And you think that they do the? I don't know. I'm wondering if they maybe switched them or I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. I haven't seen a 1 and 7 twist on a 300 blackout. I don't think it's that common. Could be wrong.
Yeah, that is interesting. So all of the models use a rotary box magazine that holds 5 rounds, and the length of pull kind of differs between them all. Of course, the 300 blackout is in the 5/8 thread pitch, and the 5.56 is in the 1/2 thread pitch.
I do like the FDE color on it, though.
That looks nice. It's better than that green that they introduced on the their last American that they introduced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, desert country, coyotes, I mean, it's a nice color to have, for sure. So let's get on to the next product, and actually this is something that I know Nick is going to have a lot of knowledge and expertise on, and it's the TacSol, or that's short for Tactical Solutions Axiom suppressor. So
yes.
Why don't you tell us about this muzzle muffler?
Well, yeah, I was out in Idaho for vacation, and actually you recommended to check out Tactical Solutions, and I was like, oh yeah, duh. So I checked them out. So I appreciate that for you, Ryan, for pointing them out of who to visit. And then lo and behold, I actually found out a guy that I know through Instagram actually worked there. So it turned out great. Got opportunity to go take a tour there and shoot some of their firearms. But yeah, what I really got to run was the Axiom suppressor on their Packlight solution barrel that they offer. And so it's about a 6-inch suppressor. It's all titanium. So outer, end caps, and the baffles. There is a stainless steel sleeve on the inside, but it's 6 inches long, weighs 6 ounces, has a 1/2-inch thread pitch. It's good for 22 LR, 17 HMR, 17 HM2, 22 Win Mags, and the 5.7 by 28 rounds. So it's classified for all those. It is classified for full auto as well, which I shot on full auto on an AR upper and on the pistol. It is ridiculously quiet. I could hear the action running on the pistol. Even with supersonic ammo, I could hear it running, and the subsonic ammo, it was just ridiculous. Fantastic suppressor. Now they do make like 2. This is kind of like their high-end one. They have like I think a Cascade and a Cascade TI, and then this is their full top-of-the-line one. And I think it's even top of the line. It's only I think $429 retail, $400 in there. I could be wrong, but it was ridiculous. They have a nice little pouch. Comes with a tool with it, so you have a tool for the end cap to take it off, and everything comes apart in pieces. So all your baffles are very easy to clean, very easy maintenance. It was a fantastic suppressor to shoot. Well, any suppressor is fun to shoot, let's be honest. But it was just ridiculously quiet for, I mean, 22s aren't ridiculously loud, but it was just a blast to shoot. Easy to break down, easy to clean, easy maintenance. Price point is definitely fantastic on it, and again, titanium. The thing's going to last forever. So if anybody's a suppressor,
yeah, I was just going to say I could see that being able to take it apart. 22 was so dirty, and you being able to take it apart and clean it thoroughly is sweet. I got the Cascade, which is only rated for 22 long rifle and 22 short. So anything in velocity over that, it's not really rated for. But you can't take it apart; it's all one piece. So it gets. I can imagine it's pretty dirty. I try my best to spray some solvent in there every time I use it heavily. But that's the price I paid for getting it at such a low price. I think I got it on like a sale at a local gun shop for like $135 before the tax stamp. So that was just a screaming deal I couldn't pass up for my very first can. But if you're getting a 22 can, you want to pass down to your kids and for them to pass down to their kids in like a trust. You want something that's going to last, something you can take apart and maintain. And titanium parts too are going to be a lot in regular aluminum or steel alloy. So I think this is a definitely nice 22 suppressor to get.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add about the taking it down to clean it, it does have the sleeve around the baffles, which I would imagine would keep it from getting locked, keeping the baffles from getting locked up to the inside of the tube, because I've heard that's kind of a problem. You'll get your carbon buildup, and then you can't pull the baffles out easily, but I bet this sleeve is probably there to eliminate that problem.
Yep.
And all those baffles are one piece, so you don't have to worry about stacking them back in the same configuration?
Are you stating or asking?
Asking.
Because I would assume that it is a one piece?
Yeah, I believe, or no, I mean the baffles come apart. But yeah, I don't believe there's a certain order you have to put back to. I guess he tore it down for me, Nick from Tactical Solutions. I guess he probably put it back in order, but the way it looked, anyways, it wasn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of times they'll have when they have aluminum baffles, they'll do the first one or two in steel and then put aluminum after that. But I think with the titanium, you probably don't have to worry, so there might not be any particular order.
Oh, that's a good point. So yeah, it looks like a great suppressor, especially if you have multiple calibers in 22 long rifle, both pistols and rifles, and you want one can to kind of switch between all of them. Yeah, I'd love to see what a suppressed 22 Magnum sounds like and see the effects, because that's if you were in a pinch and weren't worried about, if it was like end of the world situation and you were hungry, there's not a lot of things you couldn't take with a 22 Magnum. I mean, it's certainly deer capable with the right shot placement.
Yeah, there's plenty of stories of people taking deer with them during the Great Depression and all that. Just shot placement. It's not recommended or even legal most places, but when it comes down to it.
Yep. So if you want to check that out, go on over to Tactical Solutions website. That's www.tacticalsoul.com, and then go on over to their suppressors tab. And there's only 3 to choose from, so it's not hard to miss the Axiom suppressor that's there. And make sure you tell them that Nick from Practically Tactical sent you down. See if you can't get some kind of discount or free T-shirt or something.
I mean, the nice thing over there is everybody. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, I was going to say the one really nice thing about Tactical Solutions is their shooters. There are companies that might necessarily sell guns or be in the firearms industry, but all people might not necessarily be shooters. And that was the thing I noticed there is everybody is a shooter over there, so it was kind of cool.
Sweet. So the sponsor product for this week, let's get into that. Action Targets is the bandwidth sponsor for this podcast, so if you click on one of the affiliate links we have on the firearmsinsider.tv website, and then use Radio 15 when you're checking out, you'll get 15% off your order from Action Targets store. So this week we're highlighting the portable pistol bullet trap, and what this is a kind of just a big AR 500 box tray that you can put on stands and put plywood in front of, and then mount all of your targets, your paper, or whatnot. So basically, it catches all the bullets going into that. So if you're using this in like a CQB kind of stage, obviously the rules, the gun rules, still apply. And anything that's behind the target is fair game, and you want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. But this will actually catch a lot of your bullets that just you're shooting into your target. And so when you've basically shot the plywood up to beyond use, you just replace the plywood. But that tray backing is catching all those bullets and all the fragmentation. So it's got steel sides. And it's got a integral, on the sides to catch all the bullet splatter to reduce hazard. Yeah, it's the plywood is provided by you, of course. It does have a half-inch plywood face, and the steel grade is 1/4 inch AR500. It weighs 300 pounds, so it's not it's portable, but you might need more than a couple guys. And the total dimensions of the trap is 24 inches by 48 inches. And it's got an engaged steel perimeter deflector system. That's what I was trying to say before, is that as your bullets penetrate the target in the plywood and they hit the steel tray and they kind of splatter out, it's got a deflector system that helps keeping all those fragments inside the box, so they don't go flying out the plywood or the wood sides. And there's also an optional Line-A-Tex that they can line it with, which actually, or it's like a composite face that helps to absorb some of that splash as well.
So if I'm getting this right, the way this kind of works is like when you shoot a gong and the bullet mushrooms out and falls to the ground. This kind of works in that sense. It just kind of it doesn't really guide it into a trap. It's just a big box that just collects them. So
yep.
if you
it's like exactly,
you have the wood on there to reduce splashback, I suppose.
Yeah, and then also
Okay.
for setting it up and the proper elevation for your whatever training you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
They have pictures on their websites where you have like a warehouse and they've built like a kind of a pseudo room or office layout, so you can set your target up on that and do your CQB training, where you and your team enter the room and shoot at the target, but you don't have to worry about your bullets passing through the target and the wood and going through the sheet metal on your building.
Yeah.
And that's assuming that nobody misses the 24 by 48 board. But the MSRP is $649. So this is something that's not really aimed at us average Joes. But if you're running a training school or a department to which you need to train your officers, this is something for you to possibly look at investing in. The nice thing is that the longevity of it, once you've shot up the plywood enough, you just pull the plywood off, and then you can empty the inside of all the lead, possibly melt that down, recycle it, sell it to some reloaders or whatnot. But and then you just replace the plywood, so it's kind of really nice and easy to maintain. Even set it up on some kind of wheels. That would definitely help too.
Yeah, I can see you could definitely set that up on some sort of portable station or something to where it'd be really easy to move around. And I don't know, it looks fun though. That's all I gotta say. I would love to shoot the crap out of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then you can use actual
Just
live
like something that
ammunition.
type or one of those action pistol things.
Yeah. Well, some people use the Semtech rounds or blanks with blank adapters, so they don't actually launch live ammunition through their building. But this would actually allow you to use live ammunition in your training scenarios. So.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you want to check that out, go on over to Action Target's store, and then go over to the parts and accessories, and there's actually a category for bullet traps, and it's under there. And they also have a rifle-rated one too, if you want to do some stuff with your ARs. So let's get into the main topic of the panel reviews on the Firearms Insider. So I think Nick is going to go up first.
Yep.
What did you bring for us today?
I have the Fail Zero bolt carrier group. Now, for clarification, mine is the AR-15. They have an AR-15 and an M16, so obviously one that's rated for semi-auto only, and then of course they have the one that can handle full auto. So this one is the AR-15 model. Now I should point out that they offer a bolt, and then they also offer a bolt with hammer in their exo coating. This is basically a bolt carrier group that has a nickel boron type of coating. Theirs is a little proprietary, not just a standard nickel boron coating. This bolt I believe I received back in April, and I have broken the 2,000 round mark on this bolt now. And it's been a pretty brutal 2,000 rounds. And I mean, just off air before the show, I told you what I did to this thing on accident. But I've ran literally. I'm dirt cheap, so I shoot steel-cased ammo all the time through my AR. So this has literally been 2,000 rounds of steel-cased ammo with no lubrication. That's another thing to it too. Is their coating has some sort of there's a lot of military applications that go along with their coating. They put them on like the transmissions that go in giant warships and aircraft carriers and stuff. And basically now this comes over to the firearms as well. So I've ran this 2,000 rounds, steel cased, no lubrication at all. Today was actually the first time I've ever shot it with lubrication. And I'll tell you what, this bolt has just ran. Everything we've put it through, like we did our hex mag test with just dumping all sorts of dirt into the gun, and this bolt has just ran. It's been easy to clean. It's not necessarily, for those watching on this on the YouTube, it's still got a pretty good shine to it. It's not as shiny as when I received it. I think on the Firearms Insider review, you'll see pictures of when I first received it. It definitely has a lot more shine to it than it does now. I'm assuming that it would be a little bit shinier had I actually used lubrication for the first 2,000 rounds on this bolt. But this has been the most reliable bolt that I have ran. It's ran nonstop. We've put it through hell. For example, today I finally shot my AR that I haven't shot since July, and in my ammo case where I store some my steel-cased ammo, I realized I left some vaping juice in there, and it leaked out. And so today I shot steel-cased ammo that had vaping juice on it. And needless to say, that will make your bolt very dirty. That will make carbon stick to everything. And again, it was one of those things to where it was gunky as no other, but the bolt still ran. That's kind of been the theme of this bolt, is no matter what I've done to it, whether on purpose of pouring soda in it or unintentionally of vaping juice, this bolt has just ran. Again, too, it's just reliable. I've shoot it in all my local competitions. The bolt has just ran. So if you're looking for a bolt that's more on the higher end market, it's about $200 MSRP, a little bit less through different retailers. If you're looking for a bolt that is reliable, is easy to clean, because again the coating is very nice. I've noticed carbon buildup when I get them at clean. It's just a great bolt. It's reliable. It functions, and whether you're a competitive shooter or you're just looking for just a reliable bolt for your truck gun, you don't want to have this an issue. Check out Fail Zero with their Exo coating. It's been a fantastic bolt.
Yeah, my only question is, is it staked properly?
Yes, it is staked. I would probably like to see maybe a little bit more stake. I don't know if that's going to show up very well on the camera or not. It is staked. Maybe, I mean, it's not going to come out by any means. The staking I would maybe like to see a little bit better. In the FI review, I actually have an initial review video up on this. You kind of see it. That was something I pointed out. Also with the coating, I almost felt like it was going to stick, but I've never had an issue with that at all. Yeah, the staking is, if I had to rate it, I would say it's probably a 7 out of 10. It could be a little bit more, but it's enough. And again, I've put this thing through the ringer. If you watch the video on the initial impressions, you'll see exactly what we did to it. But it's been the most reliable bolt I've ran.
Cool. All right.
I think you're muted there, TJ.
Oh, sorry about that. I was saying you and me seem to have a similar philosophy when it comes to going cheap and lazy, so I might have to pick one of these up for one of my next builds.
Nope, cheap and late. I should get that engraved on the side of my gun.
Because it's really not that much more expensive. If I'm looking online, it's $185 for this particular bolt, and a regular bolt to a 1 to 120, and that's without any kind of special coatings, and might not even be staked. So that's not too much more when you look at it like that.
No, and again too, if reliability, now, and I guess I will point out is. I know they've had some bad reviews. They had some great reviews for a really long time, and it seems like they went through this lull. And I will say that I I know Peter is new, somewhat new over at Fail Zero, and has really been high on customer service. I mean, he sent this to me, followed up, and he's been along the whole process with me through this bolt. And I know there have been some negative reviews out there. They started off fantastic, but I can tell you, as of late, everybody that I know that's been running this has been just blown away by the reliability of it. And again, too, that's my main thing for having one rifle that is my range gun, my competition gun. It's everything to me. Reliability is the number one factor, and this bolt has just been fantastic. And I should point out too that if you like their coating, they actually will coat other slides for you, barrels and everything along those lines as well. You can get their coating more than just on bolts.
So what would you give it overall, like a number rating?
I put it down on my FI review as an 8.5. It is a little more higher end for the cost. The staking could be a little bit better. I pointed out in the video the coating. I thought there was something kind of like sticking. Again, I've never had an issue with it. I thought there were just a few little details that really could have made it a 10. But I gave it an 8.5 just based off of just reliability and the torture that I put this thing through.
Okay, awesome.
Sweet. Well, thanks for that review, Nick. TJ, what did you bring for us this week?
Yeah, I have a product from, let's see, the brand is EOD Robotics, and it's a breacher bar is what they call it. This is sold exclusively from CountyCom, which I know if you've been listening to the shows with me on it, you've probably heard me talk about them because they were gracious enough to send me a few products to try out, and this happened to be one of them. What it is, basically, it's about a 8-inch long piece of steel. It's about an 1/8 inch thick, and it's kind of got a let's see, it's just a pretty simple tool. It's basically a flat piece of steel with a chisel-type tip and a blade in air quotes, and I put that in air quotes because the blades aren't sharpened. It's more of like a starter edge. If you wanted to add your own edge later, you could. But I think this is mostly because the breacher bar is intended to be more of a prying tool than a knife. Like, it doesn't even have a point, so you couldn't really stab or cut with it. It just has like a chisel-type end for getting between door jambs or something similar to that. It's a thick piece of hardened steel, so it can withstand some serious prying. The front corner is beveled, making it kind of like a Tonto look to it. And I think that bevel is kind of to use a little more, like if you needed to pry something under a little smaller, like a paint can, or even use it as a flathead screwdriver for larger flathead screws. It's a staples and nails and stuff like that started coming out. The website also claims that it's great for opening crates and punching through steel drums, and it is pretty heavy duty, so the prying won't mess it up. Let's see, there are 2 holes close to the butt in line with the center of the blade. These are, I believe, it doesn't come with any kind of handle. It's just a piece of steel, so I believe that's kind of for lanyard mounting if you want to wrap it with some paracord or a leather type handle. But it does have another hole closer up toward the center, and it's kind of off center lengthwise, so I was just kind of confused on what it's about. So I looked up some other reviews, and people were saying that you could put like a heavy D-ring or another piece of paracord through there and use it as like a handle if you're trying to pull something and all you have is paracord and it's real thin and hurting, it starts to cut into your hands. You could just run it through here and you have a good little T-handle to pull a log or something like that. So that's a pretty neat little feature that cost them a few seconds to just punch a new hole in there. I would recommend wrapping the blade, as it's, like I said, it doesn't come, wrapping the handle with some kind of paracord or something like that, and I actually threw a video in my FI review, so you can go watch that, and it's actually the video that I used to wrap it. Right after I got this, I actually had just bought a new house. Me and my wife bought a new house at the beginning of this year, and it seems the previous owner needed the gate to be a little bit wider, even though there was a 8-foot gate on the other side of the house, so I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. But so they needed the gate to be a little wider, so it looks like they just took a Sawzall, cut the fence down the side, and when they were done, they just kind of took some cheap little brackets and screwed it back together. So the the gate door was really flimsy, so I had to repair that so my dogs wouldn't knock it down and get out of the yard. So I basically solely used this thing to tear off the old boards and put some new boards up, and it stood up pretty well to that task. And another thing to its I guess holdup of it is that day whenever I was done, I just kind of stuck it in the dirt, and it had been pretty moist and raining, so I just stuck it in the dirt and forgot about it for about a week, and I come back and it wasn't too terribly rusted, but it was obviously rusted because it's regular hardened steel, not stainless steel. So I actually have a picture of that in there too, so you can see about it. So let's see, I have a video of a guy, I guess after they sharpened it up, he chopped a piece of 2x4 and made pretty short work of cutting that up, so that was pretty neat. And they did want to throw a kind of CYA legal description here. So it says, although the EOD breaching tool was developed and designed to enter to the real-world urban combat and with a little work, with a file, belt sander, grinder, stone, or a rock too, it could be sharpened and converted to a deadly stabbing and slashing instrument. We can't recommend it. Likewise, the flat on the handle end should not be used as a skull or rib crusher and performing other blunt trauma. Sorry, these are not returnable. Be safe and don't play with matches or Roman scissors. So it's kind of like, hey, you could use it like this, but don't do that. Just kind of a little tongue-in-cheek legal department thing. So anyways, the features and benefits. It's a 1045 high carbon steel, heat treated to over 45 Rockwell hardness. It's can be used as a pry bar or like a lever type action. It's incredibly tough, can be pounded on. If you're trying to split wood or something, that might actually be pretty handy for that. And the holes in the handle making it useful for other tasks. It's only available in this raw steel gray, so there's no color options. What other reviewers are saying, it's this. Let's see, JS280 from the EDC forum said they're good for hammering, improvised chiseling, prying, breaking stuff, etc. They make great gifts too, and it is a pretty good as like a, I guess you could call it like a stocking stuffer type thing because it's only $20. You could get a few of them if you need this type of tool for not very expensive. You can purchase the breacher bar directly from CountyCom or EOD Robotics, although I believe they're the same company because when you go to the contacts on EOD's website, the email address is for CountyCom, so I guess it's just two different kind of websites for the same company. I would recommend going to CountyCom for it, though, because they have tons of other cool items that you'll probably want to pick up in the meantime, like some of the other things I've reviewed. So I gave this an 8.0, being that it was heavy-duty, sturdy, and all that good stuff, except, it did rust a little bit, and that there wasn't any kind of handle material included. Those are my only negatives.
Did it come with any kind of sheath?
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. It did not come with any sheath. Like I said, I don't think they really intended it to be a knife. It's not sharp at all, so I guess it's not really much of a risk of cutting it up.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I could see where that would come in handy in a lot of situations, especially if you, in a survival situation where, the worst of the worst can happen and you want to break into someone's vehicle, it's pretty easy to either break a window with it or, pry a door open so you can get some kind of coat hanger or something else through the door handle or the crack on the door.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, probably a stupid idea, but I didn't go too far before I ended up breaking my door frame. But I wedged this between the door and the door frame of my the door on my house, and I could definitely see it pushing separating the door frame. So I imagine if you exerted enough pressure, you could probably just pop that latch out of there that way. Of course, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but
yeah,
it could be used for many things.
Yeah, if it's it could be like a backwoods tongue depressor too. If someone's got something in the back of their throat and you need to hold their tongue down.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wouldn't be too pleasant.
No. Well, thanks for that review.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're wondering why you haven't heard anything from Nick, it's because he died of a cocaine overdose, or at least that's what he told me to tell you guys. He actually had to record his show, so he kind of disappeared into the background there. So let's get right into the next review. I'll do my review. I'm actually reviewing the Sig Sauer SB15 pistol stabilizing brace, and it's something that has been very popular in the industry as far as in magazines and whatnot. And the reason why is because it's kind of a dual purpose. But I think a lot of people lose sight of what it was originally designed to do. So I'm going to start there and then go into why you see so many mall ninjas running with it on their ARs these days.
Wait, Ryan. Before you start, are you calling yourself a mall ninja?
Yeah. I have. No, I'm not, because I don't. Yeah, this is strictly for recreational use. Okay, no, how dare you, sir? I'm insulted.
Just plead the
but
fifth.
Also,
plead the fifth.
Yeah, plead the fifth. So basically, this arm brace was originally designed by a veteran who was working with some programs for getting veterans out to the range, and I think there might have been somebody who had less capabilities to shoulder a rifle properly, like an M4 or an AR-15. And so he devised a way of a brace that would go around your forearm and strap using Velcro, and basically anchor your carbine to your arm, and that would allow you to shoot one-handed or two-handed, depending on how you're able to physically. A little bit of leeway in how you're able to use it. But anyway, it was originally designed for people that were handicapped or needed something to help them shoot more accurately and safely. I've seen commercials where a hunter is in a tree stand, and he's kind of using it one-handed to shoot and take game. Whatever reason why he can't use his other hand to support the firearm. So that was kind of why it was originally created, and then SIG kind of picked it up for them, and when you buy these, the SIG's actually donating some money to the foundation, the HAVA Foundation, which is the Honored American Veterans of Field Foundation. So it's kind of nice that proceeds go to that. It's not a lot. It's only $3 per stock, but you imagine how many of these they've sold. That's actually a pretty. And so good on SIG for doing that. So basically, what people have been doing is, oh well, I'm going to put this on my pistol AR-15 and be able to shoot it one-handed because it's a shorter barrel, and so not so much weight. Most of the weight of an AR-15 is in the barrel itself. So it kind of made it a more lightweight system. So then the ATF had to make sure it was approved and get involved, and they actually came to the ruling that change the classification of your AR-15 pistol, meaning that yes, it resembles a stock, meaning that it's kind of triangular shaped, and you can put it up to your shoulder and fire it like a rifle stock. It's still technically an arm brace, and so like right here, I've got an AR-15 pistol. It's got a 10-inch barrel. Just because I put this on does not make it a rifle. If I use it as intended with sliding my arm through the arm brace, or not doing that, just having it strapped with the Velcro and then shouldering it like a traditional rifle stock. But don't call it a stock because it is a arm brace. And so that's what a lot of people have been buying these up for, is, hey, I don't have to go out and get an SBR tax stamp and wait in order to finish my build. I can build an AR-15 pistol, throw on this arm brace, and it would simulate having a short-barreled rifle, but it's not a rifle. And of course, the important part of that too is it's actually a registered AR pistol, and not, you can't take your regular AR-15 rifle, throw on a shorter barrel, and then throw this on there, and oh, it's a pistol now. It does not work that way. Do not do that. I don't usually give legal advice on the podcast, but I can firmly assert to you to not do that. you definitely need to start off with either a virgin lower receiver or a AR pistol lower. And so this is a Lone Wolf G9, and this lower was transferred to me as a pistol because it had a CAC Industries buffer on there, and it had the trigger group and all that, so it transferred as a pistol. So that's great. Yeah, I think I talked about the CAC tube on a couple podcasts ago. This is actually it's got a shelf that actually gives you more length of pull when you're using this SB15 or other arm brace that just slides right over the buffer tube. So it does give me more length of pull, which is good for using your sights and your optics, and just giving you because it's a little tight when you don't have an extended tube on there, which makes it feel really weird unless you've got a shorter length of pull, and then that works perfectly for you. But for someone that's got kind of more of an adult-sized arm span and whatnot, I definitely would recommend getting the CAC Industries. I think they call it the Super SIG buffer tube. So they do this. SIG makes this in 2 colors. So this is, of course, the black, good old tactical black. But they also do what they call FDE, which of course is supposed to mean flat dark earth, which doesn't match Magpul's flat dark earth, and that irks me to like no belief why that color cannot be consistent across the board. So here's the flat dark earth version. I would say that it's a little bit got a little bit more yellow than Magpul's flat dark earth. Here's an XTM panel, put it right next to the stock for kind of comparison. It's close, but it's lighter and it's got more yellow in it, whereas Magpul's FD has a little bit more green in it. But I noticed that most people won't care to even squabble on that part. So this is my 300 Blackout AR pistol, and it's got this one on there too. Same thing with the extended CAC tube. So you get a little bit more contrast on the video with that. Using them actually as a brace, I found to be incredibly uncomfortable. It is just this elastopolymer material, which is good because when you're using it not like a brace and making a cheek weld, it's pretty comfortable. Like, it's not the worst cheek weld I've had. It's kind of got like a flat surface on the top. So it's got a little bit of an edge, a ridge, but because it's elastopolymer and it's kind of soft and molds a little bit, it was pretty comfortable. But shoving your hand in here not only hurts, like, ow, I feel like I need like some baby powder to put in there before I shove my arm in there. It's not a pleasant feeling.
Just get some Rem oil, Ryan.
Yeah, some Rem oil, some vape fluid, right, Nick? So anyway, once I have it on there like an arm brace, I've got full control over the firearm as far as raising it and lowering it. But straightening my arm out to use my sights, it's like super impossible for me, at least. Maybe my arms are a different shape than everyone else's, but I have to like tilt the rifle like 15 degrees to the left in order to like get a good sight picture. So that might be something. I think it has something to do with using the elongated tube, because it forces the brace farther up, or I guess back, on your forearm. So maybe your degree of angle of your wrist and leverage is adversely affecting how straight I can hold this out in front of me.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, because if you think about it, your forearm where it's at right now is a lot thicker than it is at your wrist where it's generally sitting, with the shorter stock or shorter tube, the buffer tube. So maybe that does play into it a little bit.
Yeah. So if you're going to use this as an actual brace because you've been injured in combat or just whatever medical reason, I would not get the extended buffer tube. I'd just get a regular pistol buffer tube. So same thing as I can't shoot it two-handed. As far as I can't get it angled with my supporting arm on the handguard forward by the muzzle. However, if I were to like a traditional pistol, actually wrap my supporting fingers around my firing arm, my firing hand's fingers, Like I was actually going to shoot a pistol. If I take like a Weaver stance and kind of bring my shooting shoulder back, I can shoot it that way, which is actually kind of pleasant, or it's not uncomfortable. And so that's certainly possible. You can basically just shoot this thing like a gigantic revolver or a giant pistol. It's just not really comfortable. Really, if you don't have a legitimate reason to use the brace like a brace, you've got a wounded arm or whatnot, just using it like a stock is great. And each brace actually comes with a copy of a letter from the ATF about the ruling, and that if reassuring you that if you use it like a stock and shoulder it, you're not breaking the law or anything like that. When these first came out, that was kind of like a big deal. Don't shoot it like that. Like it's gonna arbitrarily change the status of the rifle no matter how you shoot it. I mean, if I'm holding this thing upside down and I'm standing on 1 foot, does that change what it is? No, and that's kind of an exaggerated metaphor, but that's kind of basically how it comes down to. Is the ATF isn't in charge of enforcing how you shoot the gun. So as long as you're got it on all the right lowers and stuff, you're still legal.
Yeah, Ryan,
so
actually wanted to add a note to that before you move on. I have heard the opinion that letter was actually, the way the ATF opinion letters work is that it was addressed to one specific person that asked that one specific question about their one specific gun. So what I've heard, though, is if you're not that person, it doesn't apply to you, and you need to get your own opinion for it to matter to you. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but it is a point to bring up.
I would not put it past the ATF to take that position. And of course, it is a ruling, which basically means that's what they decided at that point in time. If too many people start abusing it, or somebody new gets appointed into that position and they want to reverse that ruling, they certainly have the power to do that as well. So that's just kind of take that with a grain of salt. So other than the color being kind of like an ugly baby puke color and not like the FDE that I have that are all Magpul stuff, I don't really have too many negatives to say about these. So the pros, it provides one-arm shooting for disabled or special cases. It does come with that compliance letter, which you can kind of have with you in case, I don't know how many people get harassed by local law enforcement at the range based on what your rifle looks like. But like TJ said, that might not apply to you. That could be just for that one case guy. It does come with an extra Velcro strap in case you want to kind of have that looser and more forward to provide more leverage on your arm. You can do that. And then the fact that they donate $3 to the HAVA Foundation is pretty awesome. So cons, it's extremely uncomfortable on the bare forearm when you're trying to use it as intended. And the price is pretty high. It's got an MSRP of $139. It's just molded elastopolymer. And actually, in my town, it's actually everywhere you go to buy it, it's above MSRP. So I actually paid $150 for both of mine. And then Nick just told me that he bought a couple at a gun show or at the NRA, no, at SHOT Show when they first, either the SHOT Show or the NRA show where they first debuted them, and they were like $60 or $70 a pop.
Wow.
So I'm a little, my jimmies are rustled that I've been overpaying for these things. I don't plan on getting more. I have just 2 for my 2 AR pistols. As soon as I, decide to pony up for getting an SBR, then I'll probably sell them to somebody else. So the other thing too is that a lot of people are using these to kind of skirt having to do an SBR, and another big benefit with that is if you have an SBR, that's actually registered in your state, and if you want to take that firearm to another state, you got some red tape to kind of jump through. You have to notify, I think, the sheriff of the county that you plan on being at. You got to let law enforcement know that you're coming into their area with a short-barreled rifle, regardless of, I've got a tax stamp from the U.S. government. Well, you still got to notify LEO. You don't have to do that with a short barrel or I'm sorry, a AR pistol with a SIG arm brace. So if you do a lot of interstate travel, that's and also a huge benefit too is that you're skirting that legal classification. Um, so it's a pretty quick and easy install. It fits all AR-15 buffer tubes that are 1 inch to 1.2 inches in diameter. I know that the CAC Industries buffer tube, I know I've plugged them a lot. Theirs is sized to be a little bit more tolerable, to where it's a good solid fit, but you're not having to use some kind of dry lubrication and then a rubber mallet to get it on there. I found that it fits better than I think I had like a Phase 5 pistol tube, and that was a lot tougher to get on there. It seemed like the elastopolymer had to stretch a lot more to get over that tube, whereas with these CAC tubes, they go right on with a little bit of tapping with a mallet, but not nearly as much as some of the other ones. And you're supporting a good cause with it as well. I'm not sure because I thought about changing the color of the Imposter flat dark earth color. And it's made of elastopolymer, so I don't know if RIT dye will work. I'm also kind of afraid that, using hot boiling water mixed with like a color RIT dye will shrink or expand or alter the dimensions of the stock at all to adjust that fit. So I'm kind of chicken to do that. I've seen some people have just painted right over it. I think there's an additive you can add to Duracoat that gives it a little bit more flexibility. I haven't looked into that quite yet, but
yeah. How flexible is that, Ryan? Can you show me real quick how that most of those little flaps?
Obviously, everything that's above the actual bracing wings is pretty rigid because obviously there's the surface area and just it's solid. But actually, the wings themselves are pretty flexible. So I don't know how paint would hold up on those.
Yeah.
I think I have seen people only paint the upper half, so basically everything north of this line, and I think that's the reason why they did that is because that part's not flexing nearly as much. So they just kind of mask off the bottom part.
Okay.
If you had a rifle that was colored, or I'm sorry, not a rifle. Well, you could put this on a rifle and it wouldn't really matter at all, just as long as your barrel was 16 inches or longer. If you got a shorter barrel than that, it better be an AR pistol. But if you wanted to match the color of your firearm that you've customized, you could probably experiment with that. Let me know how it works out for you.
Yeah,
I think that's everything that can be said for it, I think.
Okay, cool. The points I wanted to bring up, as I actually didn't know the part about the disabled veterans and the charity and all that. So that definitely is awesome to know that they do that. But one thing, kind of like you mentioned right off the bat, I didn't realize that it was meant for disabled shooters and all that, and it kind of did. I guess I got a picture in my mind as soon as you said that of having somebody with it wrapped around their forearm like it's intended, and then maybe if like maybe an amputee or somebody with some kind of structural disability, I guess you could say, to where maybe they don't have full strength in their off arm, I guess, because I have seen one guy that he hunt with one of those Thompson Center type pistols, and in like a rifle caliber with a scout scope on it, and he couldn't extend his arm fully out, so what he would do is just kind of set it on top of his arm. So I'd imagine that would be pretty useful in that case. You would have its stability in your shooting arm, and then you could set it on your off arm to get a little kind of like a little more stability.
Yeah, and then it depends a lot on your optic too. I know that iron sights are pretty much out of the question because it's so far away from your face, you're not able to get that proper angle, and using your iron sights like these Magpul Ambus sights, like I have to almost cant this thing 90 degrees to use the iron sights. So I think it's definitely meant for using a fast target acquisition red dot scope like this EOTech 512, I think it is. It's real nice for that. And then holographic sights, when they're farther away from your eye, they actually get a little larger. So that's kind of nice too if you're shooting this like a pistol at close range. That 65 MOA ring is actually optically a little bit bigger. So it seems like it's a little bit easier to acquire. Any red dot would work really good, I imagine. It just, yeah, the way I have this set up is not meant for using the brace, so I actually never really would. But that's good information to know, because I think a lot of people who are just reading on it go, oh, gotta use the CAC pistol tube because that's what everyone recommends, and then to not know that it alters your leverage point is
Right.
good to know.
Another addition I want to say is if somebody's watching a YouTube video or I'm not sure which pictures you're going to include, they'll probably notice your angled foregrip that you have on there. That's one thing you have to pay careful attention to with a pistol is you can't do everything you can do with a rifle. For example, you have an angled foregrip because you can't put a vertical foregrip on there and have it legally be a pistol, I guess you could say.
Yep, that's right. I mean, I didn't want the review to be like all the do's and don'ts of having an AR pistol versus an SBR, but because that's not really what it's about. But I wanted to get a little bit into some things to consider just from a consumer standpoint. Another thing is the actual pistol grip of your AR-15. You might want to take into account it being a different grip angle because of the shorter length of pull. So like the Magpul K2 grip is actually, it's kind of the MOE K grip was designed to be smaller and slimmer, kind of more like an SMG type grip. And the K2 is a little bit longer, but it's still got a more vertical angle, which they found to be more ergonomic when you have a shorter length of pull, like something that was an SBR with a collapsed stock. So I actually experimented. I got a Magpul K2. I hated it just because it has kind of some more rigid angles and lines in it, and it just didn't feel that great. I love the Magpul MOE Plus grips because they got like a nice rubbery texture on there, and I found those to be much more comfortable. So I've actually got one on both of these AR pistols. So the grip on your rifle might be something to consider as well if you're wanting to run one of these. Also, if we've been talking about AR pistols this whole time and you're an AK guy and you've been tuning out, they do make the SIG brace for AK-47 owners as well. And you're seeing a lot more manufacturers actually release products with these braces installed, and then they come with shorter barrels as well. So like, was it like MPAPs and Zativas? I'm probably butchering those. I'm not a real AK guy. But
it's Zastava.
Zastava. There you go. I knew you were going to correct me. But you could totally get the brace on one of those and be legal, not have to register it as an SBR. So it's kind of nice that companies are, releasing those like that. Lone Wolf releases the G9 with the brace installed, or just the pistol buffer tube. But it's kind of a nice alternate. A lot of people, I know I was listening to the AR-15 podcast, and I know JW, he kind of sees them as just like a niche or a fetish or just kind of a fad, and he doesn't like that. Like, I can tell he has reservations about them. So, I mean, if it's basically if you want to keep your AR pistol legal but be able to shoulder it more comfortably and shoot more accurately, I would say that is the greatest feature and benefit aside from helping disabled shooters shoot more proficiently. So while it's not the target market, it seems like that's the primary, like 90% of the reason people are buying these things is so they can shoulder their AR pistols and shoot better. It's not comfortable to shoot with just a naked buffer tube. I've tried it. I couldn't get it to work. So anyway, that's my review. We don't have a Tech Gadget or App segment this week. Sorry for that. We also don't have any listener feedback, which you should be sorry for that, listener. No, I'm just kidding. So in conclusion, I just want to plug all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network. And right now we are pushing the Power Factor podcast. So Power Factor is actually a pretty popular show before they even came on the FRN family. But it's all about competitive shooting, IDPA, a little bit of three-gun, all those acronyms for shooting organizations and some of the rules. That's where the name comes from, power factor, the classification of having a pistol that meets the power factor. Yeah, it's a great show if you're interested in learning about the competitive realm of shooting. So make sure you go on over to www.powerfactorshow.com and give them a listen. Check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at www.firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And you can subscribe and leave us an iTunes review. Send questions or comments to podcast@firearmsradio.tv or myself, that's cross@firearmsradio.tv. And be sure to visit the Firearms Insider website, firearmsinsider.tv, for more reviews and industry coverage. So thanks to Nick for joining the show, and also thanks again to Trusty TJ for joining us. Always
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Oh, as always, my friend. So have a great week, shoot safe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
All right, see you, Ryan.
Yeah.